Hi everybody, these are the student videos for the week ending 1/20/19. There'll be some interesting things to see and hear. Not everybody's included because a lot of people don't want their videos on the internet. This golfer is new to the single plane setup, and he's trying that for a couple of reasons. One is it's less complicated, less movement. We tend to stay on the same line back and forth. And it's also an issue of his balance. He was losing balance on a lot of his swings. So what we're going to look for here in the slow motion version is he able to keep the club on the red line, back and forth, and how's his balance? I'll also put a little red circle around the head to see if we're keeping the head nice and quiet at the same time. So let's go ahead and advance this swing. Let's see what goes on. Look at that, staying on the line now. Up now, right there, he's just a little bit inside, and I think the reason he's inside is because he's letting the hands rotate. At this point now, the club should still be pointing back at the golf ball. The club shaft should be up on the red line, and the face of the club should be on the red line, and the face should be pointing down the red line. He's already over-rotated, and that's what's getting the club a little too far behind him. So he's lost the spacing of his arms a little bit. So let's continue this a little bit more. Now he's getting up there, and the reason, right there, he's nicely on plane. He's parallel. Now from this point, and look how steady his head stayed too. That was really nice. The conventional swing had him swinging too big on the way back. He's parallel to the swing plane, which is a good position. His downswing now should be moving this elbow down to the hip. And let's see what he does with that elbow. Let's advance it again at 8th speed. Pulls it down to the hip, right through. Pretty good contact. Nice straight ball flight. That's nice. And look how balanced he is there at the finish. Very, very good job. With Evie here, we've got to get the swing to be a little bit more vertical. She has a tendency to take the club way too far behind her on the way back, even to the point where it's behind her before it's even at waist high. So let's go ahead and advance the swing in slow motion, and I'll stop it when she gets it too far back. Making some adjustments, getting ready to swing. And here we go. Stop it real soon here. See that? That club is well behind her now. It should be, her hand should still be down in front of her, should be lower, and the club head should be at about this little circle right here, so that the hands in the club head the club head actually blocks our view of the hands from the angle I'm sitting at. Her target is this little circle out here. You can see that the club's well behind that. We're going to continue back down. Now she's lifting straight up. Where else is she going to go? She can't rotate anymore because the club's already way behind her. Now she's going to lift up completely up and out of the shot. Now the problem that's going to create now is she's got to go back and find the ground. Now she ended up getting her hands in a pretty good spot, but you can see that her shoulders now are no longer parallel to the swing plane that she set up with. See how the shoulders there are straight across instead of parallel? What we'd like to see is the shoulders be on a line parallel with that red line, kind of like that. Let's clear everything out of the way, and let's see how well she does if she comes back to the golf ball for impact. We'll play it at 8th speed. The head's coming back to where it was at the start. Now we're going to move in nice and slow so we can see impact. So come into the shot. Oh, you can see right there how high the club head is off the ground because she's pulled up and away from the shot. So we're going to work on making sure she can get a little lower through impact. She can't do that from the position she creates on her backswing. We're also going to work a little bit on her posture. Maybe the posture will help her get into a little better position during the backswing. So let's go back to the beginning, take a look at the posture. And what I'm seeing here is that the knees are too far out over the toes. If I just draw a straight line down here, you can see how far out the knees are. The knees should be just about the middle of the shoelaces. That would get her butt up and get her able to bend forward at a little better angle. We'd like to see the forward tilt to be a little closer to about let's say 45 degrees maybe. So we draw a straight line down, and then we'll draw a line at 45 degrees. That's where we'd like to see the shoulders get to. That would automatically drop the hands down, get her into a better posture position, and get her able to rotate with the club going up rather than around. This golfer came to me wondering if he should get his driver fitted to him. He's been playing the same driver for a while. He's been working on his swing. He's getting stronger. He's getting faster. So what we did is we just took a look at his swing in slow motion, and I want you to watch the kind of torque and twist and flex he puts on this club head. I think it's going to be very difficult for him to be consistent when he's bending the club in his swing. Now, this is labeled a regular flex shaft. We put him in other regular flex shafts that he didn't bend that much. So let's see what he does here. Takes the club way outside on the takeaway. He's a big, strong guy. Coming back. Now he's going to fire hard. Look at that. You can already see the bend. Let's move it forward really slowly here. Look at that. You can really see a lot of bend in it. Now as he comes into the ball, it's going to bend it. Now it's bending in the other direction. That's called droop. Some of that is okay as long as it works with us, but he struggles with that, and he's catching the ball off the center face, and that's because the club is no longer where it was at setup. It can't be with that much bend going on. You see it's still bending there, and he comes through it to a nice finish. It's even whipping there, you can see that. So I told him, go ahead and go down to the golf shop, see if we can get fitted, try some other shafts, and one of the things we know is that an R-flex and an R-flex and an R-flex aren't all the same. Depends on the manufacturer, the quality and price of the shaft. And so we're going to get him fitted, and we'll see if it makes a difference. Hopefully we'll have a video of him in his fitted club, and we'll see the difference. DB has been struggling with a standing up, getting her head way up out of the circle in her golf swing. She still manages to come back and hit the ball well because she's got good hand-eye coordination and is a good athlete, but you can't always count on that. So what we're going to try to do today is discover what's causing her to stand up. We know that the head is attached to the neck's attached to the spine's attached to the hips are attached to the knees, so on and so forth. So let's see what's moving to create the lifting. So we're going to start the swing back in slow motion and pay attention to what creates the lift in her golf swing. All right there. Notice how far away from the line her butt has moved. Look how far away from the line her trail knee has moved. So what she's doing is really trying to get the club in the air, but she's not swinging the club up and back. She's just swinging it back. So we're going to try to get her to focus on keeping her knees in place, her butt out, and change the path of the swing so that instead of on the line you see it is now, we want her to move that club up to the yellow line. Let's see what happens on the way. She gets there, but now she's completely lifted out, and you can see she's really pulled a long ways away from the red line. And does she get back to it? Not really, but there she did. She got back to it finally. Got back on the plane, got her head back in the circle, got her knee back on the line. But it's so hard to be consistent, especially when she first gets to the clinic. She may take an hour to finally get the timing down to get all of that movement back where she can make nice contact like this and head that ball right out to the barrel. When she first gets there, sometimes they're squibbling. As a matter of fact, I wouldn't be surprised if right there was one of her balls. She's a really good athlete, but we really got her to try to get her a little more balanced and stable in her swing. A lot of teachers will take a beginning student and have them learn the entire golf swing motion from start to finish, as if it's just one easily learned process. I do that with my really young students, 6 to 12 years old. But as we get older, it's better to isolate out the movements. And I think as we get older, the easier movements are our upper body movements. So what we did with this golfer is we tried to get him to keep his legs very passive and just go ahead and let his arms swing the club very relaxed and very easy so we can get the ball in the air and enjoy watching the ball fly, finding the ball, and hitting it again. So in slow motion, you're going to watch a very passive lower body swing, but one that still advances the golf ball. You see not a lot of knee movement. Whatever movement there is a result of what he's doing with his arms and hands. Comes in, back down nice and relaxed, faces the ball at impact, brings the ball forward, finishes looking, and gets to watch a nice ball flight. I really believe as we get older, it's easier to learn things piece by piece by piece instead of the whole thing. Kind of like learning a song. We learn maybe the first few bars and then the later bars, or the first few words and then the later words. But that was very nice. You can even see he was a little happy with himself there. I was too. I was very happy, very proud of what he did. Good job. This is a relatively new golfer, and she set up pretty much automatically on a single plane setup. Notice the golf shaft runs right up under the trail arm. It's a very, very good posture. I'd like to see her maybe backed up a little bit further so she has a little more room to swing. But she's got a nice straight spine. Let's just see what happens on the golf swing. We're going to take it back in slow motion. And what we're going to look for is, does the club stay on or just slightly above, barely above the blue line? Here she goes back. It's going back a little flatter than we'd like. Not bad. Again, we go back here, this spot right here. I'd like to see the hands a little further out from her body. You can see that they're inside the toe line. And that's jamming her up a little bit, but not bad, especially as a beginner golfer. She's letting her arms dictate what her body does. So let's advance it at 8 speed. Now you see she has lifted up a little bit there, but she does get the club almost completely back on the swing plane. I'd like to see the left shoulder a little lower, so the shoulders were parallel to the blue line. If she does that, she won't lift either, so that's a good combination. I'd also like to see a little more hinging of the wrist, so the club maybe more of the butt end of the club was pointing back at the camera. This is what we call an L to L swing, so all she did was get to the L position. So let's advance it from here. See what she does. She drops back down. See how she's dropping down? And pulls in and misses the ball, hits it off the toe. Let's see if we can find out why she hit it off the toe. Well, we can see, look how inside of the ball the club is. The club shaft was on the blue line. So what did she do? Well, everybody will say things like you lift your head and all that stuff, but my guess is if we just look at the bottom of her shirt, we're going to learn a little something. So let's draw a little line in along the bottom of her shirt. Let's go back to the setup position and see, whoop, there it went up, you can see that. And let's take a look at setup. You can see the shirt is up. The back of the shirt is up. So she's got a nice forward tilt to her hips. When she moves the butt or the butt goes down, the club comes up or the head goes up. It's attached to one long spine unit. So she's going to happen here. You're going to see down goes the butt, up comes the back, and she's going to pull inside. My grandfather used to tell me that in life and in golf, butt out is a good thing. One of the things that helps us notice that we're a little jammed in or maybe standing too close to the ball is we tend to get into a jammed up look, which creates this right here, the rounding of the shoulders. If he backed up maybe just a couple of inches, he could straighten his spine out and make it easier for him to swing. So one of the things we're going to probably do in this with this student is getting him back up a little bit more to see if we can get his head up a little bit and get him in a little bit more comfortable position. Let's go ahead and draw in the swing plane here. And we're going to draw in the spine tilt. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go from the middle belt loop there to his ear, even though technically that's not his spine. We'll just draw it in close, and we'll do a color that kind of matches his shirt there. What we'd like to see is those two lines closer to 90 degrees to each other. So if we backed him up a little bit, he could be bent over a little bit more at the hips and be a little bit more comfortable. So let's go ahead and take the swing back in slow motion, and we'll see what's going on here. So immediately he takes the hands way outside. Notice at this point now, we'd like to see the hands down on the swing plane, down on the green line, and the club shaft blocking our view of the hands. So his hand should be right about in here, and the club head should be in that same circle. So he's getting way up over the top and outside. You can see now that he's really vertical, and look how much he's lifted up. I think that's because he's in an uncomfortable position to start with. We often hear the phrase, keep your head down. Well, maybe the reason the head's going up is because it's too low to start with. So let's get in a comfortable position and see if we can bring the swing back down into a plane angle. Notice how high his hands are there. Makes pretty good contact, good hand-eye coordination, and right on through to a nice finish. So we're going to work hard on a setup that's going to make him swing a little freer. Here we have a golfer that's kind of stuck in between two positions. She's trying to do what's called a double plane swing setup, which means her arms should be hanging straight down and the golf shaft should be at a 145-degree angle to the arms, 144-degree angle to the arms. The other possibility would be to have her try a single plane setup, in which case the shaft would run this way, straight up to the lead armpit. You can see she's in between those two. That's going to create a dynamic for her body that makes it difficult. With a two-plane swing, you want to end up on the green line at your finish, and on the green line, or the single-plane swing, you want to stay on the green line. So what we're going to do is we're going to see what she does in her swing to see if that helps us see if she's better suited to a single plane or double plane and get her out of the middle ground. So we're going to go ahead and play this at 8th speed and let's see what happens. She's taking the club back kind of on a single plane. There she's jamming herself up, no freedom, and then she's dropping down and comes back down. So what she did, she tried to swing on the same line back and forth, but the body isn't free to move at those angles. We don't have the arms stretched out. We don't have a free swing around the body. So that's why she feels jammed up, I think. So what I think I'm going to try to get her to do is to get into a little more extended position, back her up a little bit, and see if we can get her to get to a single plane swing to see if that feels more comfortable. One of the worst things about taking up a new sport is oftentimes we just feel awkward. Even though, like she is, we're a pretty good athlete and other sports have come easy, sometimes golf is just very, very difficult. Here we have another one of our single plane setups. I'd like to see his hands just a little further forward before he takes the club away. We want the club shaft to be running straight up to his lead armpit. You can see his hands are a little forward, but not bad. He's got a nice spine tilt away from the target. Let's go ahead and take the club back in slow motion. We'll watch what goes on here. Nice takeaway. A little too much pronation. One of the unique things about the single plane golf swing is that we don't have to rotate our arms as much on the takeaway. We can keep our lead hand under the club quite a ways longer than this. He's already got the toe up. Doesn't have to go up that fast. That's one less thing we have to time when we swing on a single plane swing. Now he's got a pretty good takeaway there. I'd like to see the club laid off a little bit more. By that I mean that there's a greater angle so the club shaft is pointing back to the target line. But he's made a pretty good rotation on the way back here. Let's watch the downswing now. He's moving his hips into the target very, very nicely. Notice now how the hips have moved forward to the yellow line. His head is back. Now here's the issue. When he pronated, now he's got to repronate or supinate and get that right hand back on top of the golf club. You can see it's well under the golf club at this angle right here. In the last 18 or 20 inches or so, he's got to rotate that club a lot, almost 90 degrees, maybe even more. He got pretty close to that, but sometimes he has a tendency to push the ball out to the right. Caught it a tad thin, but here you can see that he's really jammed himself up. I'm going to clear the yellow line out of the way. What we'd like to see is a full extension so that the right arm and the left arm were out about here, which would be closer to where he was on the takeaway here. See how wide he is there? And then he doesn't get nearly that wide here. And that's because he's not releasing the club head to the target line. He's trying to lift the ball off the ground. He's scooping it. You can really see that now. Really jammed up. There's no extension at all. And through to a pretty good finish. So if we can just get him to swing a big, nice, wide circle. This golfer's stuck a little bit between the one plane and the two plane swing. The two plane swing, the club would be on this line, the two plane swing, so the arms were straight up under his shoulders. Let's clear that out. And the one-plane swing, the club would be leading up to his leading arm. So he's halfway in between. His body angle is clearly a one-plane swing. So if he just raised his hands up, he would be in a one-plane swing. Now, I think we're going to see as he hits impact, see he's in the one-plane position at impact. Ooh, that's beautiful. This golfer has been using some training aids to develop some strength and some speed. And within that strength and speed, we wanted to develop great balance and extension. I'm not going to draw a lot of lines on this one. I'm just going to play in slow motion, and I want you to see what an old-fashioned two-plane swing looks like. Remember, a two-plane swing is not a two-plane setup. He is in a two-plane setup for sure, but he's also going to bring the club up on the second plane on the way back. So we're going to play this in slow motion, and I think this golfer will even notice from his earlier swings that we've videographed that he's a lot smoother and a lot better balance now that he's been working on his upper balance, upper strength and upper body balance. So here we got a nice takeaway. Starting to hinge the wrists early. Now here comes the number 2 plane where the golf club gets very vertical. Now he's going to lay it off on the way down. Look at the extension he's getting there. Right on through, the shoulders balanced, and he finishes so comfortably and balanced. That's wonderful. What we're going to see is very common among a lot of male golfers is we have a tendency to swing too hard. And by that I mean we end up out of balance and out of control. Swinging hard and swinging fast aren't the same things. So let's go ahead and play this swing here in slow motion. And you'll see what I mean about balance being a key issue. It's a pretty good takeaway. Good wrist hinge, good rotation. And then he's pulling up and out, and watch this. Watch, here we go. Oh, I'm out of balance, falling backwards. Everything went the wrong way. I'm not getting any momentum forward. This doesn't feel good. That's exactly what we feel when we're swinging out of control. The control swing can be very, very fast, but it's not going to be hard. Another word for hard is difficult, rigid, stiff, complicated. There's not a lot of good words for hard. So let's work on getting a smoother, easier, more comfortable swing and see if we can stay balanced. Balance is a key. All right, here we have a relatively new golfer. This is going to be a good swing. There's a couple of things that we need to work on, but let's just watch this in 8th speed and you'll see a pretty nice fluid swing. She goes back nicely. If you're looking at the golf club, you won't notice any problems. She comes back down. She drops the elbow down in front of her very nicely, very athletic, right on through. I think the issue here for her, for consistency, is going to try to eliminate quite that much right heel or left heel lift. That's a lot of rotation. It's also a bit of a power grabber because we're not able to take and develop torque in the lower body. Imagine trying to wring out a dish rag by turning both ends of the dish rag in the same direction. It won't wring out. So we're not creating any twist here. Other than that, it's a really good swing. This golfer is an old-style two-plane swinger. And by that I mean that not only are his arms and the club shaft in two distinct planes, but when he swings, he's going to swing the club head on two planes. So as he starts back, he's going to start the club back on the lower plane, and then you can see quickly he gets it straight up on the upper plane. That flies his right elbow, a la Jack Nicklaus, who actually did this pretty well. But the problem is, Jack was able to bring that right elbow right back down to the ground again, in front of his lead hip. But you can see this golfer ends up way over the top and bounces up and out of the shot. The other thing you can see him doing is straighten both legs early. If we can get him to maybe get a little bit more of a one-plane path on his swing rather than a two-plane path, or if he needs to stay two-plane, learn how to drop the elbow. Now, in his book, The Plain Truth, the golf instructor talked about the two-plane swing needs more athleticism. Well, unfortunately, as we get older, like Howard is, we tend to get a little less athletic. Okay, we've been working with this golfer to get a little more extension through the follow-through. If you look at her trail arm at this position, you can see she's got it nice and straight. Arms are hanging down. It's a driver swing. She's in a pretty good place. Let's go ahead and draw in our swing plane as best we can. And then in another color, I'll draw in the spine angle. That's about like that. So about 90 degrees. It's a pretty good setup. Let's hit the club back nice and slow. See, she takes it back a little bit too far to the inside. At this point right now, her hand should be up on the white line, and the club head should be blocking our view of the hand. So obviously the club head needs to be up there too. In order to get it back far enough, she ends up having to stand up. Now, she's on the swing plane there pretty good, but you can see how much she stood up. She gets a pretty good hinge. She does route the club pretty good to the back down again, clears herself out. Right there, she's in a really good spot. What we're going to see, though, is she fails to extend her right arm through impact. So let's watch really closely here. She comes through. Notice the right arm has not extended. If the right arm extended, the club would still be going on that line there, straight out towards the target instead of pulling in and bringing that left elbow up. One of the things we want to feel like we're going to do is reach out with the right hand or the trail hand to the target.